I literally just found out like within the last year that periods aren't actually supposed to be painful and they aren't actually supposed to be as bad as it is. About with black folks, it's like they literally think we don't experience pain. I would be livid. I would sue. I would do anything in my power to take them down. People's health has just been heavily neglected by the healthcare system. Hey everyone, it's B. Welcome back to my channel. I'm back with another video, and we are going to be reacting to what's something a doctor completely ignored you about when clearly something was wrong. This might hit a little bit home for me, and this has been a conversation, especially around the Roe v. Wade situation, and that being overturned, about just how black women in general, we get overlooked a lot in the healthcare system. A lot of the times our concerns are not heard or taken seriously because a lot of doctors think that we don't experience pain like that, and we just aren't taken very seriously. And I have somewhat of a story that could possibly go with this, but I'm gonna let them share their stories first and then I'll get into mine. But let's hop right into the video.
Something a doctor completely ignored you about when clearly there's something wrong.
I have a story. Whenever I was pregnant with Maya, third trimester, I started swelling really bad to the point where I couldn't even walk. I kept telling them about this. They kept saying it's normal pregnancy swelling, and I knew it wasn't. This was my third pregnancy. I've never had swelling like this. I was also having dizzy spells. I would get really dizzy and start seeing like white lights. Couldn't even look. I'd have to close my eyes.
See, because I know this is a thing, right? I know that there are some women out there who suffer with swelling from pregnancy. The amount of pregnancy related issues that I have learned about through like Twitter and social media is insane, and stuff like this kind of makes it even more of it all it does, it increases my fear of pregnancy and just makes me not even want to do it because there's just so many things that can go wrong.
They said this was normal. My last doctor's appointment, they said, oh, you do have protein in your urine and you do have a little bit of a high blood pressure. We'll induce you in a week. I didn't have a week. I went into labor 2 days later. We go to the hospital. As soon as I get to the
That's
hospital,
crazy.
my water breaks. No, it was blood gushing out of me. Turns out I was having a placental abruption. I ended up having to have an emergency C-section.
Oh my
due to the
God.
fact that Maya's heartbeat was dropping by the minute, and I was like bleeding to death. I was extremely swollen for like 2 weeks even after giving birth. It was just crazy. I'm still mad about it because I felt like it could have been prevented. I kept telling them. No.
And see, that's the problem too. A lot of the times when women get ignored, like at hospitals and with doctors and stuff like that, it's always when they're pregnant. And it's like pregnancy is literally one of the most like dangerous things that can happen when it comes to just like things that like pregnancy can cause a lot of life-threatening issues when you're carrying a child. Like not everybody has a pregnancy that's smooth sailing. Like there are so many things that can happen with your blood pressure. I've heard people like losing their teeth and their hair. I've heard of people dying during childbirth. I've heard of people losing their vision during childbirth. Like, or even I found out not too long ago that you can become paralyzed from getting an epidural. Like there's so many things that can go wrong when giving birth to a child or even just carrying the child. And I feel like pregnant women get neglected a lot, and it's like you're literally like my life is in your hands and you're not taking this seriously. It's scary, and honestly it just makes me consider more and more doing home birth because no.
And then afterwards he was like, I never thought you would have a placental abruption.
What is something a doctor completely
Anything is
ignored
possible
you about when clearly there's something wrong?
When my son was born, I started posting pictures to social media, and my cousin reached out to me and she said, hey, I was watching this show and they were talking about retinoblastoma, and it presents itself as a white glow in a child's eye. And she's like, I suggest you go see a doctor. So I took him to the pediatrician and we saw this woman and she looked in his eye and she's like, I don't see anything wrong. And she sent us home. Flash forward to a couple of weeks later, my son spikes this crazy fever. I take him back to the same pediatrician's office, see a different doctor, and while we're there, I say, hey, can you just look in my son's eye? I was told nothing's wrong, but I feel like something's wrong. Within 4 days, you had an MRI, a positive cancer diagnosis, and he had his right eye removed. Today that child is 10 because somebody else knew the signs of childhood cancer.
Aww.
So today I'm going to ask you to share this video and to remember that glow, because you never know if you could actually save a life too.
Yeah.
What is something a doctor completely ignored you about when clearly there's something wrong?
When I was 18, I was going to my doctor every other week just complaining about being dizzy, nauseous, I was blacking out, fainting, started throwing up. She just told me I'm anemic and did nothing about it. So then eventually I got a really bad chest pain. I went into Emerge, like get her to talk, breathe, do anything. He told me to take painkillers and do any test. A year goes by, I'm having the same symptoms. My doctor finally refers me to a blood specialist. The blood specialist tells me that nothing's wrong and to just go home, I'm just anemic, take more iron. I take more iron. A couple months later, I have the same chest pain, really bad, hurts to breathe, and I go back to Emerge. This doctor finally does tests, and I go home. At 12 a.m., he calls me back. He tells me I need to come in right away because something was really abnormal.
Oh
And
no.
it turns out it was a tumor pressing on my lungs, and I had cancer, and doctors should listen to their patients. Hee. Quirky.
What is
Bro, that is insane. But now I'm low-key concerned. Granted, I haven't been having those issues recently in terms of like being dizzy and all of that. But I did have a certain time period, like a few years ago, where that was actually happening a lot, where I was having a lot of headaches back to back, chest pains here and there, very dizzy. And it was happening like a lot. And I kind of just chalked it up to me being like stressed out. But also like I don't have the best diet either. And also I've been known to have low iron as well. And so, you know, I shrug a lot of health stuff off if I'm honest. But that's crazy.
something a doctor completely ignored you about when clearly there's something wrong?
I got my first UTI when I was in 5th grade and then subsequently had chronic UTIs throughout my entire life. I'm now about to be 31. And up until a few years ago, I was having about 6 or 7 and
A
sometimes
year?
more UTIs a year.
Oh my gosh.
I got so many UTIs that I became resistant to antibiotics.
What?
And then doctors don't want to give you like strong antibiotics, even though you're resistant, and then you end up being on the wrong antibiotic and not getting treated. So it got to a point where I was skipping the UTI part and going straight to kidney infections, just without any symptoms at all. So after having mostly male doctors not believe me and asking me if I pee after sex or if I know how to wipe my own
Wow.
ass, I ended up in the ER twice for kidney infections. Go see part 2.
What is something a
Good
doctor
man.
completely ignored you about when clearly there's something wrong?
This is part 2 of doctors not believing me about my chronic UTIs. I was in the ER for a kidney infection. They used
Kidney
fluids
infection.
and pumped me full of antibiotics, sent me home, and recommended I see a urologist. At this point, I had already seen multiple urologists, all of which were white men, and they told me there was something wrong with me. So I ended up in the ER again several months later, out of nowhere, because I was
Ooh.
pain blood, feverish, and had extreme pain.
But see, the fact that she was dealing with this for like almost 7 years, like, and granted, it's not like she hadn't been getting checked out. She's been going to the doctor, getting looked at, and they just, oh my God, dude.
Overnight. So my now husband took me to the ER and we demanded that they figure out what was going on with me. So they did a CAT scan. The doctor already didn't believe me and thought I was making it up, and then they discovered I didn't have a kidney infection. There was no bacteria in my system. A CAT scan revealed I had a tumor in my bladder that had been growing forever. This is part 3 of doctors not believing
Oh
me
my
about
God,
chronic
man.
UTIs. Go
A
back and watch
tumor?
part 1 and 2 if you're curious. So I had a tumor.
The fact that we're not even halfway through this video and there's already been several cases of women having tumors that just got overlooked by doctors is really, really frightening.
in my bladder, and I had to get it removed, and so I had surgery to get the tumor removed. For about a month, I thought that I had cancer, because a lot of times a tumor in the bladder means cancer.
Yeah.
Not one doctor apologized to me. But I was able to find a wonderful female urologist. Who's
Great.
a
I'm gonna look into
badass
that.
And who did the surgery, and it was great.
I didn't even know a urologist
Surgery
was a thing.
minimally invasive. It was through a scope, and I was recovering. I had to wear a catheter for 2 weeks and be on bed rest. My post-op scan, where they flood your bladder with dye to like make sure it's not leaking, revealed something else.
Uh-oh.
I had a urethral remnant. Part 4 soon. Sorry to leave y'all hanging. This is part 4 of doctors not believing me about my chronic UTIs.
Man.
So if you watched part 3, you realize that I had a urethral remnant, and you might be thinking, what the fuck is that?
Low key, I'm like,
That
I
was
don't know
my
what that
reaction
is.
too. And it was the same reaction my doctor had because she's only seen 2 of these in her entire career.
Oh no.
A urethral remnant is a leftover piece of your umbilical cord that doesn't dissolve after you're born, because when you're a baby inside the womb, your organs have all these little tubes that attach to your umbilical cord to be created, and they're supposed to be dissolved after birth.
Oh, okay.
So I basically just had this little tube hanging off my bladder, and they didn't know if it was connected to my belly button or not. Typically, these are seen in children, and they get discovered because their belly buttons are leaking, and they can be fixed right away, but mine was not discovered when I was a child. I never had a leaking belly button.
This is
So
wild.
Go to part 5. You guys are so sweet. Thank you
Okay,
so much
there's
for being so
5
invested in my internal organs. This is part 5 of doctors not believing me about my chronic UTIs.
Okay.
We left off where I explained what a urethral remnant was and that I had to get another surgery. This surgery was going to be more invasive and required the use of a robot.
Ooh.
So I had to see another doctor. He fortunately was the partner of the doctor who did my tumor resection.
Nice.
It's a great practice. They were really helpful, although he did say, we're going to have to remove your belly button. I was like, what? My belly button? And he was like, yeah, well, it's not medically necessary to have a belly button.
I mean,
So I started crying about my belly button, and he got really uncomfortable, and he was like, well, I mean, like, we can make you a new one. It just, like, won't be the same.
oh man.
So I scheduled the surgery. Part 6.
Part
Yes,
6,
and you shall
ma'am.
receive. This is part 6 of doctors not
This is a lot of
believing me about
parts.
my chronic UTIs. We left off with me having to get another surgery and the new surgeon saying he had to remove my belly button, and I was very upset.
I mean,
So
I
when
would
you
be
get
too.
an abdominal surgery versus like a scope surgery like my first one, you have to do a lot of prep work. And this prep work included giving myself some enemas. 24 hours before my surgery, I had to give myself not 1 but 2 enemas throughout the course of that 24-hour period. And so I did what any normal millennial would do, and I ordered the supplies on Amazon. But they didn't arrive. So I had to go to the store and buy enema supplies. So I'm at my Target, and I go to find the enema supplies, and the only thing they had was a bulk box of enemas. Oh, hey, it's been a minute. This is part 7 of Doctors
Okay,
Not
wait.
Believing Me About My Chronic UTIs. So last time I told you I was stuck at Target because my enema supplies from Amazon did not arrive, so I had to go to the store and buy bulk enemas because that's all they had. So I figure, okay, I had some other stuff to get, face wipes, Q-tips, that kind of stuff, but my dumbass decided not to get a basket because I didn't think I was going to be in there that long, and I had to hold a box of bulk enemas, which was surprising to say the least. So I think, I'll go to the self-checkout line, shouldn't be a problem, no big deal.
Yeah.
Wrong. Because when I scanned the bulk enemas, an error message popped up on
Oh,
the
he had to
machine,
get the worker
and
to
I had
come.
to get help
Yep.
to scan the enemas. The bulk box of enemas. And I'm freaking out because I have anxiety. And the lady's like, what do you need help with? And I was like, I just need to scan the enemas so I can go shit myself. This is part 8 of Doctors Not Believing Me About My Chronic UTIs. I'm going to wrap this up pretty soon.
Thank you.
Because I want to talk about other stuff.
I was
on my
about to
TikTok.
say.
So I got the
You wanna get the
surgery
part
to remove
10?
my urethral remnant after having the enemas and doing all that shit. After surgery, I had a catheter. I had a catheter with the last one too, but I had it for 3 weeks while I was also on bed rest and couldn't really do much of anything. So I healed, and I've had a few
Dang.
UTIs since then. That was in 2019. I
popping overall okay. I just
I'm
have to
glad.
stay really hydrated and my bladder.
I'm glad she got better, but the fact that she went through all that and she's still having UTIs, like not rather frequently, but frequently enough, is insane.
Is smaller than it was before. But the real question is, do I get to keep my belly button? Yeah. With 6 scars. 1, 2,
I mean,
3, 4, 5, 6.
I'm glad she got
What
the
is
help that she
something a
needed
doctor
though in the
completely
end.
ignored you
But
about
golly,
when clearly there's something wrong?
Oh, this is an easy one. Everything. I've been a personal trainer for 8 years, and during these 8 years, I suffered with pretty much everything under the sun. And like common shit too, like most people deal with this. The first one was bloating, like you could touch my stomach, it was hard as a rock after I ate anything. Went to 3 types of specialists, they said everything was normal. I suffered with really bad cystic acne. I have a whole highlight on my Instagram. It was so painful. Also went to 3 dermatologists. All they gave me was topicals. I suffered with more than 15 migraines a month. Went to 2 neurologists, ran all these different tests on me, said I was normal. Painful periods. I went to 7 different gynecologists. All they
that's another thing too. Painful periods. I literally just found out like within the last year that periods aren't actually supposed to be painful, and they aren't actually supposed to be as bad as it is. And it's crazy how normalized it is to have periods that are extremely heavy, extremely painful, and women just kind of take it with a grain of salt and like go, it is what it is, like this is just what we have to go through. But the fact that it's not supposed to be like that, but so many doctors allow it to be that way, it's insane.
knew what I had to do was prescribe.
And you notice with this compilation. Actually, I'm gonna say that again. I'm gonna
Thus
say that
started
again.
my research into ingredients and the things I'm putting into my body. I'm officially 3 years free of chronic migraines, painful periods, acne, and no more bloating. So that's without a doctorate's degree.
What is something a doctor
I low-key
completely
missed what you
ignored you
said.
about when clearly there's something wrong?
I was diagnosed with cancer. I had to go get radiation. The doctor had me sign some paperwork saying that I was getting radiation that same day. I went in there and got the treatment. I came back the next day because pain had set in. I could not walk. I could not move my leg, and I was having shooting pains through my leg, which was the worst pain I ever felt in my life. I then expressed to her that I was having issues with the pain. She then told me that she did not believe me with my parents sitting there. She didn't have my parents step out of the room, and then she said, I don't really think that you're having any pain. She said, I did not give you radiation yesterday. And I said, yes.
See, that's what I'm talking about with black folks. It's like they literally think we don't experience pain. Like that's so ridiculous.
Yeah, what happened to the paperwork that I signed yesterday? She then called me a liar and then tried to call security on my parents and said that I was just trying to get narcotics. And the nurse that had me sign
Oh
the
my
paperwork
God.
was just looking baffled and confused because she knew that the doctor was lying.
What is something a doctor
See-
completely ignored you about when clearly there's something wrong?
I got this one.
Oh, and
2
she
years
in the
old, my daughter
hospital.
started growing pubic hair, and I asked her pediatrician. He said it was just a burst of hormones, and I told him he was wrong. Wouldn't listen, wouldn't do any other test. Fast forward, she's 4 years old. Now she's getting acne and really bad body hair on top of a full bush. Pediatrician says, yeah, that's kind of weird. 4 months later, sends us to an endocrinologist. He does 1 blood test and says, yeah, her male hormones are slightly elevated. Okay. 10 months later, we get an MRI. She has a very large tumor growing on her adrenal gland, causing them to turn on. She had the male hormones of a 17-year-old boy at age 5.
Oh my
Fast
God.
forward another month. We've been at St. Jude's ever
Oh,
since.
no.
My daughter has stage 4 adrenal cancer, a very rare form of it as well. She almost died.
What is something a
Bro,
doctor
that is so freaking sad, bro. If I was her, I would be livid. I would sue. I would do anything in my power to take them down, because you're not gonna do my child like that.
completely ignored you about when clearly there's something wrong?
I was 15 when my daughter was born, and when she was 4, she grew a lump the size of a golf ball on the left side of her neck. So I freaked out and took her to the hospital, where they were like, oh my God, it's totally normal. We'll just do a little incision and drain it. So they did, and it never healed. And every time I took her to the doctor, they rolled their eyes at the stupid teen mom who didn't know anything about healthcare and dismissed me. So I started asking for referrals to sick kids, and they refused, like I was
She
questioning
sounds
their
so
medical judgment.
serious.
duh.
But as you
So
should.
one day I said to my daughter, hey, pack a suitcase. She said, are we going on a trip? I said, no. Threw all my dirty laundry in a duffel bag, and we brought our bags to the doctor's office. Threw them down on the floor of the waiting room, where I hooked my feet around the legs of a chair and said, I'm not leaving without a referral to sick kids. Doctor comes out and says, don't make me call security. I said, don't make me call the newspaper.
Right.
I got her down to sick kids. She was diagnosed with atypical mycobacteria and cured within weeks. Fuck you, Soldiers Memorial Hospital in Orillia, Ontario.
Have you or anyone you know ever shared a nice experience with a celebrity?
I've been waiting for this one. I've been waiting for this one. I have the best celebrity story you'll ever hear in your entire life, and it makes me so happy. Okay, so I used to work at this like really, really high-end clothing store, like pre-pandemic, and Robert Downey Jr. came in one year to Christmas shop. He came in and he was wearing this really cool jacket. So I was like, oh my God, that jacket, it's amazing. And he was like, thank you so much. It's like the first time I've worn it. I was like, yeah, well, chef's kiss. It's fucking phenomenal. And then like fast forward, he finishes shopping and everything, and we're helping him out to his car with the bags of Christmas presents that he bought. And he takes the jacket off and he gives it to me and he says, Merry Christmas, and this is it. And I have Robert Downey Jr.'s jacket. I have Robert
What does
Downey,
that have to
Iron
do
Man's-
with? Okay, I don't know what this last video was about, but we're just gonna end it right there. But yeah, man, the healthcare system is like, it's so bad. Like, it's just like people's health has just been heavily neglected by the healthcare system for way too long. And again, it's mostly women, black people, black women. But you saw there was a black man on there that talked about his experience and them thinking that he was just there to get drugs. Like, the healthcare system is racist. It's very, very racist. Obviously, it's not everybody, but it happens way, way too frequently. And I just don't get it. And that's why I'm always very weary about like the doctors and just everything healthcare in general, because it just doesn't feel like they really care anymore. And even with like the pandemic, thankfully there were a lot of doctors and nurses that did care and did want to save everybody. But I felt like over time, like even with COVID, like people have kind of not taken that as seriously anymore. And it's just really, really a shame. And granted, I've never had an experience with like a medical, I never had a bad experience or an experience like this with a medical doctor where I felt like I was being neglected or ignored. But let me tell y'all, the dentist, bro, I've had the worst experiences with the dentist, and I'm pretty sure my tooth is messed up right now because of the dentist. And it's one of those things where, again, like I've not that I've been neglected, because in order for me to be neglected, I would have had to have like actually said something, which I didn't, because I'd be nervous and anxious, and I usually don't say when things are wrong. But there was this one instance where I was getting a cavity fill, and the dentist had like made a mistake, and she had accidentally put the numbing stuff from the needle in my tongue. And so I couldn't really like swallow or breathe, and it was very, very uncomfortable for me. And I remember she kept like getting like upset with me because I couldn't keep my mouth open. But I'm like, lady, I can't breathe, bro. And I can barely talk too because my whole mouth is numb. It was a mess. But yeah, I really despise doctors and people in the healthcare industry that don't have empathy and don't take every single patient seriously. You really should not be in this industry, and I don't know why you are. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below if you've ever had a bad experience at the doctors or felt neglected at the doctors. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and also comment down below what other videos you guys want me to react to, and I'll see you guys in the next video.